Vault Live, your number one worldwide stream for the uncanny, the weird, and the unexplained. Good evening, everybody, or indeed good morning, good afternoon, wherever in the cosmos you might be, and welcome to the show. This is Erie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Lehan Eerie. We're going to be opening up the phone lines, of course, in about a half an hour's time. So if you've got something to say, you can on the show live on the phone. And I'll tell you how to do that, of course, in just a moment. But of course, as always, let's begin with a shout out to my patrons and YouTube members. That is Paul L., Steadbot, John Douglas, Farson's Finest, Buster Piles, Baroque Lobster, Gaynor Smith, Greg Russell, Ian Lewis, Ramona Craighill, Emu Cat, E.J. Osborne, HTX80 Nerd, Predatory House Elf, you've got to love some of these Patreon names, haven't you? Hilltop Rambler, Doc Dingley, indeed, Mr. E, John Diver, Ryan, Rudolph Hooker, Pill Collins, Keith Say, Andrew Dewey, Pamela Peffer. I always want to say that in an Arkwright for you UK of a certain age people. Pamela Peffer. I always want to say it like that. Dan Scanlon, Adrian Foote, Julie Four, which means there must be 3 other Julies out there somewhere. Giles Vint, Matt T, John Nelson, Harry Webb 46, and of course, wherever the other 45 of you are, Johnny A, Louise Matthews, Darren Jump, David Morris, Stu Graham, Brian Henderson, Jerry Shelton, Bizjadish 143, Baby with a Laser, Vincent Hegeland, Ben Hurl, Adam Mitchell, Ginger Ninja, Aaron Osborne, Melv, Heather Maund Jones. I have to take a breath on this list now. Todd Van Voris, Chris Slay, Gregory, Catman, Natalie Leach, and Amanda McNeil, Sawboss, Zach T, and Craig McClellan. That's the patrons and my YouTube members. HB's faithful servant, Dave MacDonald, Paul, Zilthrill, and Sugar Sandwich. Welcome, everybody, and thank you all, whether you're a patron, a supporter, a commenter, a viewer, a member, or somebody just gives me the odd thumbs up now and then. Thank you all for carrying the channel and helping it to become what it's becoming. Let's have a look in the chat. We've got Flyers with us. Hello, Flyer. Welcome. Paul Williams. Hello, Paul. Welcome to the show. Marius, good morning. Good morning to you. Jess and Friendy. Hello there, Jess and Friendy. That's 3 countries in the chat already. Baroque Lobster. Hello, Baroque Lobster. Welcome. At Bell 2025. What an excellent username. Who says I was staying at St Andrew's Square, Malmaison in Edinburgh a few weeks back in the basement, and my God, it's haunted big time. Well, at Bell 2025, stick around. You can call us up and you can tell us all about it. Mr. International Man of Mystery, Buster Piles. Welcome to the bungle indeed, sir. Cat's Life is with us. Hello, Cat's Life. Welcome to you. Stephen Truthseeker, and a happy spring to you, Stephen, as well. Who else have we got? L Rose. Hello, L Rose. That's a new name in the chat on me. Hello to you and welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. Theme Queen UK. Hello, Theme Queen, and welcome. James Glass is with us. Good evening, James. David Owens. Hello, David. Yes, on one of your many errands in the car at the moment, aren't you? Yes. Welcome to the show. Please enjoy. Who else do we have? Dingley Dell. Hello, Dingley Dell. Johnny A is with us. More Cowbell Barbecue. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the show. Who else do we have? Ian VY2PS, who says dinky do, and the same to you, sir. You, a Hexam Heads video on TikTok, Eerie. Yes, okay, yes. I'd like to see that, thank you. Seraphinag 4672. Hello there. Welcome. That's another new name. Beautiful to see new people in the chat. Thank you all for joining us today. Well, what do we do normally? We have a bit of Eerie news, don't we? Yes. And in the words of several bosses that I've had in the past, oh, it's all kicking off. Yes, it is kicking off. Lots of things happening around the world right now, some of which are of incredible interest to us in the context of this show. One of which is that Steven Spielberg's new sci-fi film Disclosure Day has arrived. It's not out yet, but the trailers are landing, and it's absolutely steeped in UFO imagery and seemingly conspiracy lore. It seems like it is loaded with the stuff. The teaser trailer opened with a deer and a butt of a cardinal fixated on some human beings. It followed then a live TV broadcast, and you will all have seen Emily Blunt, who suddenly becomes seemingly possessed and speaking in what appears to be an unknown language. And then we get a glimpse of a crop circle, and then the tagline, "If you found out we weren't alone, would that frighten you? The truth belongs to 7 billion people." And it suggests to me that humanity's first contact probably won't be coming by a spaceship, but by some sort of collective experience or some signal that suddenly switches on. Spielberg himself has said that the film is based on a story sparked by real UFO investigations, and he's tied it back thematically to Close Encounters. Within the trailer's clues, we can see hints of a decades-long cover-up. A black and white film slate that's dated July 7th, 1947, Roswell, New Mexico, appears alongside Coleman Domingo shouting, "This 79-year campaign of terror and lies has to end," directly invoking the Roswell incident as a catalyst, or maybe even the beginning. Fans note that even the final shot, a flying saucer, and doesn't that thing look cool when it comes billowing through the clouds? And of course we've had our own calls on this show about saucers or flying objects hidden in clouds, haven't we? I'm looking at you, Mr. Dingley Dell. Yes, we certainly have. And it bears a real chilling resemblance, actually, to the climax of Close Encounters. All of this makes it look like it's going to be a global event, because the conversation at the moment is decidedly American, isn't it? If you look on X, by the way, we're on X, and I say we, it's me, isn't it? You all know it's me. We're on X, formerly Twitter. I still call it Twitter. It's at Erie's Vault. There it is. So if you're an Xer, I'm not big on X, but nevertheless, there we are. So there's Erie's Vault for you on X. You can take a look at that, and you can follow if you like. I'm just getting into it, so, bear with me. Hello, Flosky72. Welcome to the show. Another new name there. Welcome. Now, first contact has happened over and over again, says James, just described as religious rapture or kept off the public domain. Well, I think we will see religious motifs in Disclosure Day. I am sensing a sort of Adam and Eve vibe to it. The two things I noticed today, well, 3 things actually, that I noticed in the trailers. But I'll get to them. Hello, Kazam, welcome. And Ian, welcome to you as well. Hope you enjoy the show tonight. We're just talking about Disclosure Day, new Spielberg film. It's out June-ish, June 12th, I think it was. Honestly, I haven't been excited about a new film for a very, very long time. A very long time. And I think this is going to be a good one. Jessen Friendy, who says, I would like to talk to you, but I don't speak English very well. That's never going to be a problem. We can stumble through English if you wish. That's not a problem at all. We're patient. We're accepting. You know, we're a good bunch of people. If it takes a little longer to tell your story, so be it. Please don't let that put you off. So yes, the discussion around disclosure is very American led, but the trailers suggest it's going to be obviously a worldwide thing, isn't it? You know, and whether the alien presence turns out to be a benign observer, which it doesn't look like, to be honest, perhaps awakening human awareness or something, or a manipulative sort of contagion infecting our minds. Who knows? I can't wait to see it. You know, he's sort of gone both ways, hasn't he? With E.T. being one way and Close Encounters, and then you've got, you know, the War of the Worlds and the differences of that. It's Disclosure Day could be either or. The thing about the animals has been suggested that this is aliens showing themselves to humans as animals or in other forms, the deer and a cardinal particularly. This sort of ties in with a part of the trailer. I'm just reaching into my memory now, excuse the stuttering, where a young girl is walking towards a lit up house through a dark forest and is being led there by animals. People are saying this is symbolic of an abduction experience. So make of that what you will, as is the vibe with all of this, and always has been, hasn't it? But then we see like glimpses of control rooms and monitors and people's faces on screens and nameplates and dossiers and all that sort of, I don't know, hidden conspiracy stuff. And then there's this Colin Firth character with these really sort of piercing eyes who seems to be in charge of something, whatever this program may be. But then there is the alien fingers. Now, if you haven't seen the trailers, have a look, because there is what appears to be, and you'll realise this has been a favourite of the channel if you've been listening to the streams for a while, what appears to be tridactyl hands, that is three-fingered hands, just holding in place the face of a girl who seemingly has been taken by aliens. I'm really looking forward to it. Yes, Paul, even more than Barbie when that came out. Yes. Telling my secrets. How dare you? Sheppy, welcome. Welcome to the show. What about the new film, The Back Rooms? Actually, yes. Now, they could very, very easily destroy that, couldn't they? They could very, very easily make that really, really rubbish. But you know, and I've played some Backrooms games and I've seen some Backrooms videos, and I like the lore. I love the lore of it, and how it's grown and how it's been mapped and developed and evolved. For people who don't know what the Backrooms is, essentially, well, the phrase is that you can no-clip out of reality, which means fabric tears in the fabric of dimensions, essentially, which lead you to a very bland looking sort of yellow wallpapered series of halls with very low orange light, well, not orange light, yellow lights that just hum faintly, and you kind of can't get out of there, and it evolves and it changes, and there are entities in there and puzzles and all sorts of things. That one might be good too, but it's Disclosure Day that I'm really, really looking forward to. I think that really there's this thing about Spielberg has inside knowledge, isn't there? And what do we think of that? I'd be interested to know about that. If you want to call up and discuss whether Spielberg has inside knowledge, you can do. Now then, on to the next thing. For generations, the Kraken, and I've been thinking about this because I saw a clip of the Kraken being turned to stone by Medusa recently. And then, the day after, I saw this. So for generations, the Kraken existed only in legends, this vast, many-armed creature said to rise from the northern seas and drag ships beneath the waves. But new fossil evidence suggests that something very much like it once existed. Won't be like the magnificent Harryhausen creation, I'm sure. But during the late Cretaceous period, about 100 million years ago, enormous octopus-like animals have ruled parts of the prehistoric oceans. These creatures, now identified as species within the genus Nanae Motiuthis. What is this toothis bit? Motoothis. There's Architeuthis, isn't there? There's any Latin people out there who know what the toothis bit means. Are estimated to have reached lengths of up to 60 feet, comparable to the size of a bus. How dare they call it the Kraken, was my response. The Kraken is enormous. It is much larger than 60 feet. Who remembers that? Who remembers that scene when Poseidon releases the Kraken in the original Clash of the Titans? I'm talking here, where it just swims over him and he's clearly holding his breath underwater, is Poseidon. Quite why Poseidon would need to do that, but you can tell the actor is really holding his breath. And it's this sort of merman-looking thing with loads of arms and legs. Well, not legs, it's got a tail, hasn't it? But it's wonderful, and I think that later treatments of the character model just were not as good, really, at all. I just don't think they were as good. I've got to say, thank you, Nancy and Tiffany and David and Ellie, for joining me on X. I don't know how exciting it will be for you, but but there you go. We're Xing. Isn't it wonderful? Yes. Now, as some of you have mentioned in the chat here, what the hell is going on with all these scientists that are going missing or something else? What is happening? That is a topic. I will take your calls on that topic all day today when we open the lines. But this has been happening between sort of 23 and 26. It seems to span a really long time, where US scientists and engineers connected to space studies and nuclear research have seemingly disappeared or have passed away, apparently under unusual circumstances. It's looking like a conspiracy theorist's dream. Congress and the FBI have launched formal inquiries into at least 10 of these, as far as I'm aware, reflecting concerns about a possible pattern, of course. And to date, officials acknowledged investigating, but stressed that no confirmed links or foul play have been found. Well, of course, they would say that, wouldn't they? So we have Amy Eskridge, who apparently unalived herself after some pressure was applied from, I don't know. The thing is, we don't know, do we? But this is a little crazy. So we have Amy Eskridge, we have Michael Hicks, I think, who also died, Frank Mywald, who also died. Now, Eskridge was an aerospace engineer. Hicks was JPL, which is the, oh gosh, what is it? Something propulsion laboratory or something like that. And a NASA scientist. Mywald, NASA scientist. Monica Reza, who was a JPL materials engineer. Somebody just remind me what JPL is. Joint, something propulsion laboratory, isn't it? Melissa Casillas, who was LANL admin assistant. Anthony Chavez, who was also LANL. Stephen Garcia, the NNSA contractor. Nuno Luriero, who was an MIT fusion physicist. Cal Grillmere, a Caltech astrophysicist, William McCasland, who was the chap who went missing hiking, who retired US Air Force Major General, Jason Thomas, a Novartis biologist, and David Wilcock, as some of you have mentioned in the chat, who is an independent researcher. Are there any links? Or are there no links and it's all just happening right now? It's a heck of a story. It really is. And the way it's begun to unfold, and this is what synchronicities are, right? So it's beginning to unfold now at a time when the administration in America is really hammering away at disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. There's supposed to be another 46 videos or documents or documents that Anna Paulina Luna is pushing for the release of from the Department of War, I think, and I'm not sure that they've materialized yet. However, Luna is also on on X, saying things like, disclosure is coming, read the Book of Enoch, which is, what on earth is it all about? Now, to me, this is happening at the same time as these scientists are going missing, and there are other scientists of similar sort of, what's the word? It's not rank, is it? Similar fields who have also gone missing or have died recently. It feels crazy out there. It feels crazy. I'm not a conspiracist. I like to have evidence of something. I like to see things from my own eyes. However, I do enjoy is probably a bit strong, really, given that we're talking about people dying. But if you understand what I'm trying to say, I do enjoy getting caught up in the what ifs of things, and this is a hell of a what if. It really, really is. So tonight I'm interested in a couple of things from you guys in the chat or on the calls. Of course, I want to hear about your own paranormal or spooky stories, or stories that have happened to family members or friends or whatever. If you've got a good story to tell us on the line tonight. I'd also like to hear your opinions on Disclosure Day, the film. What do you think it's going to be like? What do you think the aliens are going to look like? What do you think the reveal will be? All that stuff. And I'd also like to take your calls on what do you think is happening with these scientists. It is crazy, I think. Crazy indeed. Lots happening in the chat. We've got Tiffany with us now. Hello, Tiffany. Welcome. Have we got anybody new? Because I don't like to exclude people. Of course, not everybody watching is in the chat either. So if you're watching as well and you're not chatting, just thank you for being there. Tony's with us. Hello, Tony. Welcome to the show. Yes, welcome everybody, especially you with the pink slippers on. Welcome to the show. I do that because Grot Bags used to do it. Do you remember Grot Bags? Any of you UK kids out there? This was Carol. Oh gosh, Carol. I've forgotten her name now, but she was the actress was called Carol Scott, I think. Carol Scott, maybe. Grot Bags was a witch on a kids' TV show called Emu's Pink Windmill, and she had her own show as well, actually. And she had a couple of catchphrases, one of which was, "That's very personal." I remember her saying that all the time. And one of the other things she used to do was she used to look into the camera and go, "I'm coming to get you." And she'd say, "Yes, you with the blue trainers on," or, "you with a red T-shirt." She'd always do something like that. So I like to do it too. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Ian says, research the book Open Verdict. It's all happening again. Ian, please give us a bit of a breakdown of that. In the chat, please. I'm interested in what this is. James says, scientists of the same disciplines have been disappearing for years. Breakaway human... Oh, now there's something. A breakaway human civilization and or secret space program. I never thought of a breakaway human civilization. That is, how very interesting. Yes. Stephen says the people who control the governments control the secret space program. What is the secret? Are they leaving us here? Are they all going somewhere else? Is that going to happen? That would be a bit weird, wouldn't it? I think it certainly would. Where would they go? Are they going to the moon? Are we going to go further? Are we just going to live in some sort of spaceship? What would it be like if we were left here and essentially all the people in charge of infrastructure and the way the world works vanished? How long would it take us to revert to animalistic hunters and survival specialists? What do you think? Buster thinks full disclosure might lead to mass hysteria. Indeed it might. Look how we all react to, global pandemics and other things. Can you imagine the tirade of information that you would have to sift through after disclosure is given? You'd still have to figure out what was right and what wasn't. It'd be a crazy time. Really would. As long as they don't stop making sugar-free jelly, then that'll be fine. If they stop making sugar-free jelly, then we've got a bit of a problem. Really, we have. Let's have a short break. We're at the bottom of the hour, and when we come back, we are going to be taking your calls. You're watching Eerie's Vault. Introducing the Eerie's Vault Patreon, where you can find mountains of research clippings and articles related to the cases discussed on the channel. Patrons-only case files that don't make it onto the YouTube channel are also shared for members. Exclusive follow-up videos, complementary to the main YouTube episodes, are also shared and include extra insight or additional cases not covered in the main episodes. You'll get extra videos giving my honest opinion about cases discussed on the channel. Do I really believe it all? Find out on Patreon. Enjoy interesting studies and presentations that I've discovered during my investigative journey into high strangeness. See exclusive on-location videos shot at the very locations discussed in our main episodes. See the exact places that these things happened and explore the area with me. Stay in the loop with Patrons group chat feature and carry on the discussion after the streams have ended. And the big one, patrons can access this massive Erie's Isles interactive map that details literally hundreds of cases of high strangeness in the UK. Not only those from case file episodes, but also those mentioned in the live streams and others that I have found along the way. Browse this huge catalogue to find your area and see what weird things happen near you. The cases are organised into folders on the left-hand side, so you can drill down and choose specific cases here too, showing you the overview of what happened in that location and a link to the Eerie's Vault episode that covers it. Erie's Vault Live, your #1 stream for the uncanny, the unexplained, and the strange. That's right, all of those things, that's what we're all about. I am now activating the phone lines, and as you can see on screen here, there are a number of ways for you to take part in the show tonight. And one of those ways is, if you are a UK person, you can telephone a UK number, which is 0141 673 3743. The number is on screen right now. If you are in the USA, this is a New York City number, then it's 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. If you're in the USA outside of New York City, of course, it's 1-929 Mr. Eerie. And for the rest of the world, you can get in touch with us on WhatsApp if you so desire. I'm sure some of the other numbers work as well, but WhatsApp is probably cheaper. And that is 07903 775 899. That's 07903 775 899. Or if you're a bit shy and you don't want to talk on air, although you don't have to be shy, not with me anyway, I'll look after you, don't worry. But if you want to email instead, then you can email eriesvault@gmail.com. That's eriesvault@gmail.com. Yes. Now, I think the idea of disclosure is probably a bit of a pipe dream and won't be exactly what we want. But what do we want? I think people might want different things from it. And that's what I'd be interested to know tonight. I need to just nip over to Patreon to address a question that's popped up for me here. So, Buster, has anybody that looks in on the vault used my link to watch A Dark Skies? Let me see this. So I watched it, Buster, on your original. So Buster's is a patron and he's chatting on Patreon here, so that's why you can't see it in the chat. Yes, link to Dark Skies. So I watched it originally. I think I rented it online when you did recommend it to me, and it was I think the ending sort of threw me a little bit, but I'm not going to spoil it. But Buster, just to let you know, yes, I've seen it already, and I've watched it on your recommendation already, and of course, thank you ever so much for putting that link in there so people can enjoy it. It is quite worrying, the plot of the whole thing, and the fact that, well, can we spoil it? The fact that, let's spoil it a little bit. The fact that really there was no alternative. It was preordained what was going to happen to the key focus of the activity, wasn't it? And there was no way, nothing the family could have done to stop it. That was worrying. Is that what disclosure will mean for us? Who knows? The advert that we just watched mentions Patreon, of course. Now, there is a free version of Patreon if you're averse to spending £1. There is a free version, so by all means join it as a free member. It's there. The stuff that the top secret stuff eventually, after a year or so, becomes main content anyway. So have a good look if you want to, and you can join as a free member. Don't worry about it. Now, the lines are open, and depending on how much of my waffle you want to hear, you can call now or you can wait. Strafe Wilson, if you are watching, sir, I've received your 3 emails. I'm looking at them right now. You know I'm a bit slow already, but we have some developments on the Calvine UFO photograph. There have been some developments there, and I'm just sort of speaking with Strafe on how best to surface the video with his findings on Erie's vault. So that's a discussion I'm having at the moment, albeit a slow one on my behalf. So I'm very sorry, Strafe. I will attend to this at the weekend when I get a moment. What do I think about the Arizona Lights incident from '97? I think there were several UFOs being observed for that many sightings. This is Apathy 5430, who's a new name on the stream. So thank you very much for joining the show. Is that the same thing as the Phoenix Lights? Or have I got that mixed up with something else? The Phoenix Lights was the big sort of... wasn't a triangle, was it? It was kind of a triangle, but it was just the points were a triangle. The thing was more like a boomerang, I think, or a V-shaped craft. I was of the opinion that it was one large object myself. However, I can see how it may also be a formation of things. It's a very, very unusual sighting, even of a UFO or UFO cluster. Often they're alone, aren't they? Often they are fleeting or silver even, or it just doesn't look like other UFOs. When it's in a triangle formation, it looks like something off the Predator's display when he's hunting Arnold Schwarzenegger in the forest. That's what it looks like. Personally, I was of the opinion that it was one object, because it seems sort of chevron shaped. It blocked out the stairs, as I recall, which is very, very interesting. Now, having watched S4, the Bob Lazar documentary, which is frankly fabulous, by the way. It's just really good because it puts you there. It just puts you there. It doesn't muck about with dramatic bits that it doesn't need. It just puts you there. And it's wonderful to see Bob speaking about these things. So one of the things he said when he saw this saucer flying in the desert, when he was actually shown it at the facility, he stood directly beneath it and he looked up and he couldn't see it. And he had to take a couple of steps back in order to view it. And that Phoenix Lights thing, saying that it blocked out the stairs, obviously it would block out the stairs if it were a physical object, but it made me think of the Phoenix Lights and the way that it blocked out light. Because what Lazar's saying is, in that documentary, that the propulsion system would seemingly be a gravity-like force, but he thinks it's a different force that we haven't yet discovered. And I found that really, really interesting. Another thing he said was about the interior of the ship. So I don't know if anybody's seen it, but the interior of the craft, which he has to crawl into, so he has to crawl into the craft, is like a dark pewter colour. And it was lit with earth lights. There were no lights inside it, so they have these construction lights, you know. The ones that, I don't know if you've played The Last of Us, but the ones in the hospital in The Last of Us, where you finally you're on the last bit, those yellow construction lights, you know. They had those inside the craft so that Bob could work. But even they didn't illuminate the interior particularly. There was no refraction of light anywhere. And one thing they didn't touch on as part of that, which I wish they had, and it's a question for you guys as well, is what does that say about the eyesight of any beings that may have been driving that thing to Earth? What does that say about the eyesight of a being, assuming it was a biological being that flew the craft and not a drone type grey or something? But with no refraction, hardly any refraction at all of light, how does the being see well? Does it see at all? Does it need to see? All that sort of stuff. Yes, so the Phoenix Lights, it's, I think, a structured object. I don't think it was military flares, which is one of the things that came out, wasn't it? I certainly don't think it was military flares at all. I think the police saw it, didn't they? I think some pilots saw it, and it was seen over multiple cities, thousands, therefore, of witnesses, and, you know, really long duration. I think that was, I don't think it was a display of power or anything like that. I think it was a genuine craft, but I couldn't ascribe motive to it, because who knows, right? If you're going to do a display of power, you destroy something, I think. If you're going to show yourself to the world, then wouldn't there be some attempted contact at the same time? Although there's the old adage, isn't there, that advanced species such as ourselves, when related to an ant, we would not attempt to contact an ant, would we? So would an advanced intelligence attempt even contact? But I don't know. I don't know the motive. But what you've just said there, apathy, maybe it was an accident. And yes, it seems silly, but perhaps it was just somebody asleep at the wheel. As silly as that sounds, to just be suddenly there and coasting, you know, who knows? It did seem accidental. Now, whether it's earthly technology or not is another question, isn't it? Absolutely another question. A supermassive mothership, yes, indeed. Do you remember all the fuss about the drones and the supposed mothership in the Iranian Sea? What's going on with all that? Is that still a thing? I haven't heard of any of that at all. Jammy Horse, hello there, says lots of chatter concerning an imminent return of ETs in 12 to 24 months. Several religions anticipate their saviour returning too. Reading the Paul Wallace series of books, clearly they are one and the same. Yes, we are certainly seeing a fusion of philosophies, I think, heading our way. Gosh, it's what are the... Do I want the answer? Do I want to know the answer? Is it going to be good for us? Is it really going to be the case that there are going to be some of us who remain because we're decent and some who are eradicated because they're not? Is that really coming our way? Adam Stevens, hello Adam, says when disclosure happens, a lot of people won't even know because we're stuck in our own little bubbles. Yes, I think that is probably very true. In fact, you could probably get punched in the face by an alien, and some people still would say aliens don't exist. It's just a prank, or something like that. I wonder how many people will simply refuse to believe or care. I would imagine many. I certainly think a lot of people won't care. Because it won't, well, it may not directly affect them. Now, if we're talking about some incredible shift in humanity, some accelerated switch where suddenly we don't need jobs and we don't need to pay bills for our energy and we don't need to buy food because we are provided for. If suddenly that happened, I think people would lose their own identities fairly quickly. Because I think for lots of people, the job they do can become their identity. And if that is removed, I think people will lose themselves. And then we would see some real effects. AI, of course, may accelerate that anyway. I think I read a thing about Microsoft laying off a lot of staff with some voluntary redundancy packages. A lot of staff, big numbers. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? I know Elon Musk talks about a world where you won't need a job, you won't need to work, but where does your food come from? Where do your comforts come from? Where do your dreams and your hopes live? Where do your goals then come from? How do you develop as a person? Some people don't want to develop, do they? Some people are happy staying where they are. Personally, I like goals. I like to achieve things. I like to dream about things, and I like to make those dreams happen. Maybe it wouldn't be required anymore, but what would that say for me? What would I do? What would any of us do if the world and the mechanics of it that we know just stop existing, but we continue to live? It's a strange one, isn't it? Very odd. Jammy Horse says, when the return or disclosure of ETs become a reality, there won't be any panic because most people will still be interested in Saturday night television. Probably. And Stephen Truthseeker says the shift is already happening. Yes, it's a good idea for a poll. Let's have a poll on, are we pro or anti-disclosure? Bear with me one moment. Are you pro or anti-disclosure? And we will put pro as an option. We will put anti as an option. And then, just because I think it's Buster's sort of sense of humour, I'll add uncle as well. There we go. Are you pro, are you anti, or are you uncle? Uncle Disclosure. Hello, I'm Uncle Disclosure. That might be how we get told. Everybody look out. Let's search. Is it Uncle Disclosure? .com. Let's see if that exists. I'm buying it. Nobody else can buy it. I'm buying UncleDisclosure.com. And we're going to have a little animated friend who tells us all about it. You know the helix, the DNA helix in Jurassic Park? I think we need an Uncle Disclosure character. Let me write that down. Often I write things down and I never ever follow them up, but it's nice to write things down. So, Uncle Disclosure. Hi, kids. I'm Uncle Disclosure. Welcome to the future. Yes. Yes, indeed. Aliens gave us free energy through Tesla, but the controlling interests suppressed it. Well, of course, the petrodollar and all of that. Energy is huge, isn't it? And oddly enough, the Department of Energy are involved in a lot of UAP investigations as well. More Cowbell says would be very happy just to live and not work. It would be wonderful. It would. And I suppose it's hard to break out of the mental mechanism, isn't it? Because if I don't work, I don't earn the money, and then I don't afford the trips that I go on, and I don't afford the, the care to go to the places I want to go, and all of that stuff. But you might not need to afford it because with this discovery, who knows what it'll bring? It might bring teleportation, instantaneous travel, anything. anything. The days of needing a meaning and a task and a mission are far gone. New generations would rather just enjoy a random day and not have to 9 to 5 living the same non-working dream. Yes, I think there's a lot of disillusioned younger people at the moment, but I do think disillusion is a symptom of youth anyway. Myself. Love your American advert announcer voice. Was it authentic, David? I hope so. I hope it was. Welcome to the future. I'm Uncle. What did I call him? Uncle Disclosure. I've ruined it now. I've spoiled it now. Rewind it and listen to it again. Thank you for the poll. No problem, Milia. Yes, welcome to the show. Sorry, I hadn't called you out there, had I? Yes. Always wonder what others are thinking. Well, it's big at the moment. We've got a 76% pro-disclosure. Anti-disclosure is 6, and Uncle Disclosure is 18%. Yes. Anti-disclosure people, I would be very, very interested to hear your reasons. And it's not a challenge. You know, we don't challenge people on this show. We just talk about it, don't we? We just hash it out. We are thinkers. We are scholars. We are philosophers. We have opinions. We're all intelligent people. So anti-disclosure people, I'd really, really like to hear your reasoning for that. And the pro people as well. So that's something else you can do. You can call on the phones and you can tell me what your feelings on disclosure actually are. I think it would be amazing. Hello, Jan. Welcome to the chat. Welcome. I personally think it would be amazing, but I don't know what form it will take, and I don't know the consequences. What are the consequences for the normal, average Joe like me? What will it do to people who, like myself and like more Cowbell Barbecue has just mentioned, they are not so young anymore? What about us? What will it do to us? We have a call coming in. I'm just going to keep ringing, caller. Don't put it down. I have to switch to this screen before I answer you. Oh, goodness, I'm all fingers and thumbs. Hello and welcome to Erie's Vault Live.
Hello, Mr. Leonelli.
Hello, Fleur. How is one?
I've not been feeling so good the last few days. I'm feeling a bit better now.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. And how's little Trickett?
Very good. He's nearly 9 months now.
Wow. Doesn't time fly?
It certainly does. It certainly does for him. He's already telling me he's an adult now. He's like, I'm a big boy. He thinks he's a big boy now. Oh, dear. I was actually watching a live stream a while ago, and it was a story from Sugar Sandwich that
yes,
that got me thinking when she described the little beings that she saw along the walls.
Do you know what that had me a bit frightened for a few days? That story.
Yep, it actually had me going, God, I hope I don't see anything tonight. But the reason that it brought back something to me that happened, was maybe about, I'd say about 6 years ago, when I was actually I worked a lot with people who were unwell, and something odd happened at a person's home which I don't have any explanation for. And it is actually to do with a figure that I couldn't explain where it had come from, if you want to hear it.
Okay, yes, of course, yes.
So I used to look after, I don't do it now because of my illness. I used to look after a lot of people with illnesses such as dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. And one of the ladies that I took care of, she recently had come into our care, and she didn't like staying on her own for whatever reason. She never actually disclosed why she didn't like staying on her own. She just didn't.
Okay.
And her home was immaculate, but it was kind of old-fashioned. And whenever you stepped in there, you just felt a bit nervy, a bit on edge. It wasn't because of the lady, just that the house had a bit of an atmosphere. You just ignored it at most of the time.
Yeah.
And again, this lady, whenever we would leave, she would beg us to stay because she said, I don't like it. I don't like being here on my own. And obviously, because I had a lot of people to take care of, I would have to stay with her for about 10 minutes before I could encourage her to go to bed and make sure that she was safe. And one particular day, I'd been held up because somebody else had a fall, and I had to go to this lady's house a little bit later. So it was about 8 o'clock-ish time when I managed to get to her. And she'd already got into bed. And I was unlocking the door. I was just walking up the stairs. And obviously it's, nobody's there. Nobody's in that house. There's only me. There's only her. She's in bed. So I walked up the landing. And just as I was about to open the door, I saw a man's face illuminated in front of me. And I didn't know what this face was or where it was from, but I walked towards it and sort of went through it, and it disappeared. And I just walked into the ladies' room, and I'm just talking to her normally. I'm going, "Oh, are you okay? Dear, are you fine? Do you want a cup of tea?
Yeah.
Are you hungry?" That kind of thing. And she said, "No, I'm fine. I'm in bed now. Just bring me a drink of," I think she had a drink of milk. "Bring me a drink of milk, and that's it. I'm going to bed." And obviously I gave her the milk. And I closed the bedroom door, and I'm just like, what the hell was that?
So you walked through. Is this an apparition then?
I don't know what it was. I honestly don't know what it was because, again, it was a man's face that was illuminated. I'm just guessing that it may have been a spirit or something there in her home. But obviously, because I walked through it, I'm more interested in what's going on with this lady, not dealing with you, spook.
You're doing your job, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, I didn't. It's one of those things that, again, it just happened. I'm like, oh, whatever. I got a job to do. Ain't got no time for no spooks. And it just reminded me of what Sugar Sandwich explained what happened with when she was younger, and I'm like, that sounds like very much like that, but
oh, I see. So
like
was it on the door or was it in the doorway?
It was in the doorway, and as soon as I opened the door, it came floating towards me, but it wasn't a torso; it was just the face.
Gosh!
And then when I stepped through it, it just disappeared.
Now, didn't Ian have a similar experience to that? I'm sure that rings a bell. One of Ian's experiences as well.
Ian experiences these things as well, so yeah. I can't think that it might be too dissimilar.
Do you know, you've reminded me of so I've been working on a video. The next video that's coming out should have been tonight, but it's nearly 2 hours long. God, it's a slog finishing it off.
Oh, I can't wait.
And it's about poltergeists. It's the entire British history of poltergeists, and one of them is a white face that seems to hop like a rabbit, but it's just a face, like a human face, and it hops up the stairs into this attic in one of these tales. And you've just reminded me of that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Gosh, that's kind of scary. But no, the strange thing as well, Eerie, is that I never experienced it again. But the more I do think about it, like maybe that's why she didn't want to be on her own, because I obviously, for reasons I won't explain too much what this lady was suffering from, but I know that she did have a husband that had passed away.
Oh, okay.
But I'd seen a picture of the husband, but this was nothing like a husband. It was a really old man's face. You know, like it looked very Victorian. It didn't look
really
like a. Yeah, to me, I'm looking at an old Victorian, not a modern, old man. If you know what I mean. But it was there for just a couple of seconds, and then I walked through it, and then it was gone. So I'm like, oh God, I just stepped through someone. Hope they're not hurt.
Yeah, I hope they didn't. Hope they're not fastened to the back of my head or something. Do you think she
Yeah.
knew it? Did she know? She must have known some or felt something was there. Do you think she knew something was there?
Well, again, she would ask not just me, but other carers to stay with her.
Mm.
And I just assumed that because her husband not being there, she might be lonely. But
Yeah.
more I think about it, I'm like, is it because she's seeing something? And obviously, I've not seen it. I didn't see it since. But being in that house, it was. I've got to admit, it was kind of a very. It just had this kind of like a vibe to it. It wasn't.
Mm.
It wasn't something that was malicious. Whatever it wasn't malicious. It just might have just been a bit curious. No idea, but that was just like I'm like, it was just like when sugar's up with sugar. This is kind of freaky.
Oh gosh, it's a very strange one indeed, isn't it? Yes.
But that was believe it or not, in my entire years of working in care, I've never saw anything like that at all. I've worked with people who are I work with people who were on palliative care, which is end of life care, and I've never seen anything like that before. Never. Sometimes.
I'm sorry. Go on.
Because sometimes, we have had people say, "Oh, I went in to see Mr. or Mrs. So and so, and I thought I saw somebody standing with them, or they mentioned that somebody was with them," and that's just how it could be.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm like, but this lady was in full health; she wasn't unwell. So.
I wonder how many professionals in palliative care have stories to tell. I think there will be hundreds of them, and that, in fact, that's a call out to anybody who's listening. If you've worked in palliative care or end of life care, if you have a story, you can tell it without giving details of anybody. You can be as vague as you want. I think a lot of those people see things.
Yeah, I do think a lot of people who have worked in care or have worked in care homes, who have worked in we can call them residential homes, will have experienced that. I mean, I've seen videos on the internet where it shows you people working in care homes, and they've said, "Oh, we've seen people who have since passed away there. We've heard bells ring when there's nobody in a room."
Yeah.
Lots of things like that probably do happen. It's just because we're that busy, we don't always think about it.
Yeah.
We don't always remember we're that busy trying to help people.
Yeah, because the resources are stretched, right? It's not like you look after one person all the time. You're running around and you're on call, aren't you?
Yep. But I do have to say we have actually had several care, people giving care. We have actually had people who've gone to haunted homes, and they have said, "Yeah, we've seen stuff that we just went out."
Oh, when they visited clients, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe this was, like I said, this was several years ago. We used to have a gentleman who would only go into certain houses because all the ladies were frightened to death of the house. Only the males would go in because they were absolutely frightened. One lady, I can't remember if it was a lady or gentleman, whenever anybody used to go into their home, they would hear footsteps upstairs and they could smell tobacco smoke, even though nobody in the house actually had tobacco smoke. So in the end, only the braver ones actually went in to there. I never did, so maybe I'm lucky.
Yeah, maybe you are. Maybe you wouldn't have felt the same thing that someone else did as well,
No.
Sort of, there's a prismic sort of nature to it, isn't there? It's quite multifaceted in a way.
yeah, it's just one of those things. I'm like, oh, sugar again. The thing with sugar sandwich brought that on because I'm like, oh, she saw like strange odd figures. I see strange odd figures.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't see it afterwards, and I didn't mention it to the lady. I didn't mention it to her because I didn't want to scare her. So
yeah, best not. Best
no.
not.
If anything happens, I'm like, no, it's fine.
Yeah. I don't blame you at all.
But that's the only story I have to Eerie. I'm sorry.
That's a good one.
I'd love to hear if anybody else has worked in palliative care or care homes or hospitals.
I'd be
Have had
interested.
their own experiences because
Yeah.
I'm like, I know a couple of people who have worked in hospitals and they're just like, don't go to where the morgue is. Usually those are the floors that you kind of see spooks in.
I can imagine. Yeah, I think it's
But,
that liminal. It's a liminal space again, isn't it?
yeah, that's how I view it anyway. But I hopefully, Eerie, that didn't scare you this time. Hopefully, it didn't scare you.
Well,
because I'm like, every time I speak to Ian, he's always scared.
I am. It's the trees. I'll tell you what it is. When I sit here now, the room is quite dark because I've got a low level light bulb in here. But out of one window, there's just ocean, so it's pitch black out there. It's just absolutely pitch black. And on the other side, if I may be so bold, if I go to the bathroom, on the other side, it's woodland, so it's pitch black out there as well. So every time I'm in a window, there could be something watching me from out there, and I just never know. So it's very spooky.
It is because I don't look onto water. I look onto trees as well, and sometimes I just looked out going, hopefully there's nothing there. At one time, I was just like looking at going, I'd actually watched the live show, and then I just saw two things glowing outside. I'm like, oh my God, there's somebody out there. And I realised, oh, it's just only next door neighbour's bulbs.
Yes, it's nothing to worry about. And then just draw the curtains and go to
Yeah,
bed.
it's there. It just closed the curtains and went to bed.
That's the way to do it, yeah.
Yep, did scare me. Anyway, it was nice to hear from you again, Eerie.
You too. Thank you, Fleur.
Thank you, Eerie. Take care. Have a nice
cheerio.
night.
Good night.
Nightmares. Bye.
Don't have nightmares indeed. Yes, it's hard not to, isn't it? When we're talking about spooky things like that. I felt a bit like Dame Edna when I said spooky then. I did like Dame Edna. What a loss to the world that was, I have to say. So Fleur has seen this, and I do think that the people in palliative care probably have stories to tell, most certainly. If anybody out there has such stories, please do let us know. It's time for a brief break. We'll be back just after this. Erie's Vault Live, your #1 stream for the uncanny, the unexplained, and the strange. The strange indeed. Do you know, even though I wrote that piece of music myself that you just heard, under the pseudonym of Clifford Farnham White, of course, which is a secret that only us here on the live streams know, I do like it, even though I wrote it myself. It's wonderful. And it's because it's the first piece that I've written in, gosh, probably over 20 years. So a lot of music on the channel is 20 years old. The orchestral theme tune is 20 years old, for example. And that piece of music reminded me, it's a reminder that things are never over. It's never too late to restart something. It's never lost. The things you love and the things you're good at, the things that get you going, are never lost. And if people ever feel like that, if people ever feel like just, I used to be this, I used to be that, well, here's some news for you. You still are that. And that piece of music is called Miracle for that reason. There. That's a little something you didn't know, isn't it? Yes. So happy birthday to Darren's niece, let's say. Happy birthday to Darren's niece. And Ian wants to know if the Byron Street thing is in the Poltergeist video. It is not in the larger video. It's not in the 2-hour one, but it may have its own feature video. The larger video is a couple of hours long, and it has cases going back from the 1600s all the way through to probably the most recent being 2006. And I have had to cut, and this is no exaggeration, I've had to cut about 80% of the cases out of the script because it was coming in at something like 14 hours or something ridiculous. Because I've been scripting this thing for about a year, and I was just adding and adding and adding. And I sat down to do the voiceover, and about a third of the way through it, I thought, gosh, nobody's going to watch this. So I managed to trim it to 2 hours. So no, the Byron Street thing, as it was known, or Byron Street Poltergeist, which is Runcorn, isn't it? If that's the one. Might get its own video. The larger video features well-known ones like Enfield, for example. Battersea is another one. It's got Willington Mill in there. It's got one in South Shields, one in Thornton Heath, oh gosh, some of the really old ones. I think Wellington Mill was an old one. Lots of Scottish ones. There seem to be a lot in Scotland, and actually that comprises most of the content that was cut, and it's still quite Scotland heavy, is the script. I'm at the stage now where I have to add the imagery, and that always takes a long, even the 18-minute videos that we do, or the 12-minute ones, they can take a good few hours just to do them because of the sort of style I've now settled into, that sort of vaguely shaky. Well, what I've gone for is a sort of late 70s, early 80s paranormal documentary feel. The yellow text with the white text and that slight blur to the image and the sort of not shaky but not quite stable imagery and things like that. They take a long time to do, and I think I've got about an hour's worth of imagery to now attach, because what I always do is I always research first, and I can be researching for months, so just whatever I'm reading. Suddenly I'll think, oh, I'll do that video, and then I'll script it, and then I'll re-script it, and then I'll re-script it again because I don't like the first two. Then I'll do the voiceover. Then you've got to do the imagery and the editing. Then I compose the music for it. So each one since probably, I don't know, probably since February, each video has had its own score, if you like. So all the Space Brother videos had a thematic set of incidental pieces of music. All the Mantid stuff has got thematic ones, and the Poltergeist ones will have thematic ones as well. And then you've got to mix the audio and get into Cubase and all of that stuff. Make a thumbnail, get some metadata together that hopefully makes people find it. It's a hell of an industry, and on a 2-hour video, it's a heck of a job. I really underestimated how long it was going to take. But it should be a good one when it comes out. So yes, that's Poltergeists. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Having gone through hundreds of cases, I came to a conclusion, which I won't spoil, but is in the video. And yes, I came to a conclusion which there's no proof for, let's be honest. But I think you'll like it. Yes. So here we are, Erie's Vault. Real callers, real stories. And we're just waiting for your call. And on cue, that was wonderful timing, caller. Don't go anywhere. Let me switch to my screen and say, good evening. Welcome to Erie's Vault Live.
Hi, good evening, Leon. It's Matilda.
Hello, Matilda. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
I have a pot of tea in my Prisoner Cell Block H mug. I am happy.
Sounds lovely. Well, talking about poltergeists, yes. I was reminded of an incident many, many, many years ago. I worked in a school, and it's only looking back now, it's like, oh, I wonder if that was a poltergeist. I used to run a department for reprographics, so I would do all the photocopying of the paperwork. It would save the school buying books, etc., exam papers and all that sort of thing. And I just got a nice new machine, and this machine turned out single sheets of paper at something like 800 revs a minute or something. So it'd be 800 sheets. It's very, very fast.
Pretty quick, yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I used to like to work in time and motion, so I would time my work, etc., so as I knew what workload I would have coming up, and I could let the teachers know when they could come along and collect their work.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this one particular day, this machine kept turning over a page, And when I went back to sort it all out, I noticed it was every 13th page that had turned over. Well, I carried on working on the machine, and it just continued doing it. Every 13th page it turned over. And I hadn't noticed, but I'd got a family photograph sitting on my desk next to my computer, and the family photo had been knocked over. So I picked the family photo up and propped that back up, went back to the machine and had to keep turning the 13th page back over so that it matched all the rest of it for when I had to give it out. And I looked back and the photo had fallen over again on the front. And this happened, at minimum 4 times before I had to stand back and start wondering if there was a student who was maybe poking his arm through the window of my office and pushing it over or doing something like that. Yeah, but no, as far as I can recall, the window was closed. Nobody had slid it open. I would have heard it. But the fact that the 13th sheet, and it was on a piece of work that I was doing for I think it was actually the science department. They were studying something of an isle off the coast of England, but it was every 13th sheet, and my family photos just kept being knocked over so that it was totally flat.
That's very weird, isn't it?
It's quite spooky, isn't it?
Is there any link, any possible link between who was in the photographs and the number 13 in particular?
I don't think so. The family photo was my children. I'm just wondering what ages were they, but I don't even think. No, I mean there could be a link, but I really couldn't possibly even suggest what it would be. It was just the link between and 13 being that number.
Yeah.
You know, and the machine, which worked perfectly on every other piece of work that I'd been doing. It wouldn't turn any sheet over. It was just systematic in every 13th page. It turned over. It was like it had been folded.
Yeah, like purposefully done almost.
Yes, yeah.
It doesn't really.
And then I just sort of swept it under the carpet. You forget about it until this evening when you were talking about poltergeist.
And it's brought it back to your memory. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if there was one in the schools that, was maybe hovering around.
Yeah, maybe just messing around. There's no mathematical 800 and... So you said 800 a minute, and then...
Yes.
So 800 a minute, every 13th one. There's no real maths there other than 800 is about 20 times more than 13, isn't it? I don't know if that means anything, but I love to find patterns, you see.
Yeah, well, I really couldn't. I mean, I don't know how many I was churning out. There's a couple of thousand kids in the school. So there was quite a few it was churning out. It was just every 13th sheet.
How weird.
Yes. And that's it. That's my story for you this evening.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the call.
You're very welcome. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you. Cheerio.
Thank you. Bye.
A playful spirit, perhaps, interfering with photocopying. Every 13th page, yes, it's that number, isn't it? Yeah, how very odd. I realised I have had some callers coming in at the same time there, and I've just sort of twigged tonight that there's a delay, isn't there? So whilst some people are calling, and I keep saying, don't call when there's another caller because I can't answer it, I think sometimes you don't know there's a caller on the line when you're trying to call. So apologies for that. It's a rudimentary phone system. So if you've been chopped off, give it another go. For for the next half hour because the phone lines are connected. It's just that there's only me, you see. There's no switchboard, there's no call waiting system yet. I haven't figured it out yet, but I will. So there it is. What can I say? That's the reason some of you get chopped off. I do apologize. Yes. Poltergeists in schools. Oh, look out. We have... Oh, I know this. I know that face. Let's take a look at this. Hello. Is it Dingley Dell? It's not. He's gone. Maybe I didn't know the face. Yes. I'm sorry if I frightened you there. It's WhatsApp, isn't it? It's just the profile picture on WhatsApp, that's all. Yes, so poltergeists in schools. There are a lot of stories of those, particularly in the US, actually. Oh, let me just take this. Accept. Hello, welcome to Erie's Vault Live.
Hi, Liam. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
Not a problem.
Probably my fault.
So the gremlins.
Yes. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well, actually. How are you?
I'm not so bad, thank you. I thought I'd just ring in with a few things that I have in the back of my mind that I thought I'd mention. One being something to do with ghosts and the other one being something about the universe. So I don't know which one you'd rather talk about tonight. You have mentioned...
We don't mind both. You could start with ghosts and then expand us into the universe.
Well, about... let's see, it would be between 25 and 30 years ago, I decided to book. I'd got these holiday sort of brochures, holiday cottage type brochures, that sort of thing. And inside them were a couple of castles. So I thought, oh, I've never stayed in a castle before. So I'd booked this castle in Northumberland. And you may have heard of it, you may not. It's not too far from the border. It's called Chillingham Castle.
Oh, I know it well, yes.
Do you? Yeah. Well, this would be sort of, gosh, it would be mid-90s, something like that, because my two eldest sons were only young, sort of 5, 3, that sort of age. Anyway, I'd booked it up and I didn't know anything about it, its reputation at the time of booking it. I told the family, I'd sort of booked it up for about a dozen of us. There was myself, my wife at the time, kids, my sister and her kids, and my parents and my in-laws. So we booked about 4 or 5 different rooms. Spoke to the character who still owns it, Sir Humphrey Wakefield. Really interesting guy. I mean, he must be in his 80s now, I think. Anyway, we noticed when we got there all these sort of notices about sort of, one of the most haunted sort of castles in the country. I mean, I think he'd only started then, trying to promote the place. He hadn't had it very long. And since then, I've noticed there's been lots of programs where, most haunted teams have visited and all this sort of thing. Anyway, this precedes that because he hadn't had the place very long. Anyway, I wasn't a sort of ghosty type person. We sort of laughed and joked about it, and the rest of my family sort of said, what have you got us in here for, sort of thing, I hope I get a good night's sleep, sort of thing. Anyway, we stayed there for 4 nights, and myself and wife and the kids stayed in one of the... I don't think you can actually stay in the rooms we stayed in. We stayed in sort of the grey room, which has this picture of Lady Grey, and her eyes are supposed to follow you and all this sort of thing.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, what I specifically remember about the weekend we were there, and 3 or 4 days, these friends of Chillingham Castle were there. This group of people who were all lovely volunteers. They were doing work in and around the place, either tidying the garden or blah blah blah. Anyway, I think the caretaker and his wife, they were from New Zealand or something like that. I mean, whether they're still there, I don't know. And I remember going back. They'd sort of they'd put a bar on, a makeshift bar to reward the volunteers. So we luckily for us, we'd had a few drinks and not too many. And I remember going back up. You go up these spiral staircases, and I,
Yeah,
I remember getting lost. I remember getting lost several times trying to find our room. And going back over and thinking, where have I? I've gone round down the wrong corridor
it's
here.
easily
Blah
done.
blah.
Yeah.
Oh, easily done, honestly. And you're thinking, am I stupid? Anyway, um, when we got to the end of the stay, I mean, my family are very level-headed. There's nobody sort of prone to exaggerate. Um, I said, has anybody seen anything or anything? Coming back in the car,
Mm.
and my father-in-law, uh, he said, he said, "Oh well, I woke up in the room he and his wife were in, and it had a bay window which looked over the central courtyard." And he said this figure was stood in the bay window, and he said, "I just looked at this figure." He said, "Solid figure." And he said, "I just turned around in bed." And he said, "I didn't dare wake my wife up for fear, because she would have wanted to go straight home." Uh,
Yeah.
and he said, "I just didn't tell her anything about it till we were coming till now, sort of thing." And then when I spoke to my mother, because she was coming back in a separate car later, she said, "Oh yes, they were staying in sort of these lower rooms, which I would imagine were down sort of dungeon sort of level." She said she'd woke up in the early hours of the morning and seen something disappear through a wall, classic sort of case.
Yeah.
Um, but the strangest thing, and it's quite difficult to mention it really because it involves one of my sons. One of my sons was sleeping in a bedroom between my in-laws in a bed, like a cot sort of thing, because he
Mm.
was only about three,
I
two or
see.
three,
Yeah.
and he had this weirdest stain on the top, like a sort of you know ectoplasm coloured, bright, luminous green yellow stain
Oh,
right in the middle of his sort of top.
okay.
And what we should have done if I'd thought about it in hindsight, obviously I didn't. My wife at the time, she sort of got it washed straight away. She
Mm.
she thought he'd maybe been sick during the night
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Well, not a subject to talk about, but it just didn't look like that. It looked like sort of ectoplasm had dripped onto it.
Oh, good
I mean,
Lord.
it was the strangest thing, you know. And I really do wish I'd kept it and sent it away for tests or something like that. And anyway, that was our trip to Chillingham Castle. So anybody who's thinking of visiting somewhere where they think they might see something, it's up near the borders, and as you can imagine, a castle that's up near the borders was at one time was taken over by the Scots, and then was sort of taken back by the English or border reivers at the time, and then it maybe the next century it fell into the hands of the Scots again. So you can imagine there was a lot of suffering,
Oh,
for want of a
yeah.
better.
There'll be armies
I
moving
mean, to have,
through, and there'll be
oh yeah, I mean,
prisoners and people going missing
exactly.
and all sorts. Yeah.
People being tortured. I would imagine, and
Yeah.
there's probably some pretty grim things happened there. Um, and they have a torture chamber actually in the
Yes.
in the castle itself. I mean, I don't know if you've ever visited,
It's
Liam.
I have. Isn't it something to do with oh gosh. Was it
They have some
George
cattle there.
Sage or something? George Sage?
No, that name doesn't ring a bell.
The,
Um,
the executioner's name. I might have that wrong.
all right, all right. Well, you might be right. I don't know. I can't recall, specific names
Mm.
involved in that sort of thing. But I've actually been back there because my sister-in-law booked it for a wedding. We were up there a few years ago, and I'd gone back and spoken to the owner and his wife again, and told them that we'd been there in the early days, and
Mm.
yeah, but real place of character, has a real atmosphere. Apparently, he told me the first time we visited that there'd been a few false walls in the place, and they'd knocked a false wall down, and there was a skeleton behind one of the walls.
Oh
Somebody had
God.
been
Yeah.
had been bricked in
Oh,
somewhere, you know.
lovely. Yeah. All sorts will have
Very nice.
happened there. All sorts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I would imagine so. I
Mm.
would imagine so. Anyway, the other thing I just wanted to mention, and you touched on it earlier tonight, really, when you mentioned ants.
Okay.
I've always had this theory about scale in universes, you know, proportions. And we'd spoken about something very similar a few months back when I'd said to you, I think I'd said if I saw a UFO, I expected it to be 20 foot wide and 10 foot high, just
Yeah.
so a being of our size could reside in it. But but the way I've thought in the last sort of few years is, what if the scales in other universes are so immense, or at the other extreme, so small that we are a tennis ball as a sized planet compared to where they come from, and they're not sort of twice the size of us. They're sort of 200 times the size of us.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, can you imagine visiting a planet that well, is inhabited, but it's only the size of a tennis ball to you,
Yeah, it'd be
or something
crazy.
like that?
You could pick
I
it
mean,
up and move it around
well,
and
you would just dismiss it, wouldn't you? You wouldn't even give it a second thought. You think, oh, there's things living on that,
yeah.
but they're so minute.
You certainly would
I mean,
you would imagine that such a being wouldn't have much compassion for the inhabitants of such a place.
possibly not. Possibly not. Yeah.
Unless they were
Or possibly.
incredibly developed in
Mm.
that sense as well. Yeah.
Well, or the other extreme, we could be being visited all the time by peanut-sized craft that we can hardly see, from universes where we are huge in comparison to them,
Mm.
you know?
You know, the recent topic on the channel has been these mantid, praying mantis type aliens,
Yes,
um,
I've seen that. Yeah.
which are supposedly very, very tall. But that all that stuff did make me think. I have been looking at insects in a different way lately, if I'm
hmm
honest, because exactly what you say. What if we
hmm
have life forms that are just tiny, but they're here? They're here already. You'd never know.
hmm Well, that's right. And your mention of mantids always reminds me of that great film Quatermass in the Pit, where
Yes,
they
of
find that
course. Yeah,
UFO, and they are sort of some sort of insect, aren't they?
they are.
Jumping insect or something. At what's it called? Knob's End or something like that,
Is it?
where where this supposed underground station is. I don't know if it actually exists in London. Probably not.
Yeah.
Hobbs End, I beg your
Hobbs
pardon.
End. That's a
Hobbs End.
bit more PC than Knobs
Yes,
End, isn't
it
it?
does. Yeah, Knobs End. Don't quote me on that.
No, I won't.
Uh, no, but hey, yes, yeah. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but yeah, just scale and proportions. We always think that everything. I mean, you do hear these reports from America where they'll say this craft was 5 times the size of a baseball pitch or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah.
And you're thinking, gosh, that's huge, but it doesn't mean that it's a mothership. It might just be that the people on it are 27 foot tall or something,
Yeah, they could be gigantic things. Yeah,
It
of
could
course.
be.
Yeah. And
It
that
could be. I
is,
mean, because, the gravity in other universes might, or other planets. I mean, we've got planets in our solar system that are 20, 30 times, I don't know the proportions off the top of my head, bigger than ours. You know,
yeah, they're
Neptune's and
enormous.
Jupiter's are huge.
Yeah.
So what are the chances that other universes might have planets that are 20, 30 times the size of those, but
Exactly.
inhabited?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that is, again, all of this sort of the hypothesizing and the what if, it
hmm
could be any one of our suggestions, or it could be all of them as well.
hmm
It could be both massive things and small things, and invisible things and transparent
That's
things,
right.
and goodness me,
That's right.
yeah, yeah,
People who developed from insects
yeah.
because there hasn't been a sort of a human-like creature on that country, or developed from any form of life.
Imagine
I mean,
developing from a crustacean,
mhm.
you'd be a little bit crabby.
Yeah,
You'd be a bit crabby,
yeah,
wouldn't you?
yeah. Yeah, it might be a bit nippy, yes. But it always reminds me, Lee, and I mean, I'm a big fan of the early Twilight Zone episodes, you know, the black and white ones.
Yes, yes.
And there's one particular episode that always sticks in my head, and it starts off with this old woman who lives in a shack in the middle of nowhere. So you naturally assume she's on Earth.
Ah, right.
And this very small craft, only about 18 inches wide, crashes into the roof, the loft area of her shack.
Yeah.
And then she has this battle with these really small aliens, you know, over the course of the episode. And then right at the end, after she's smashed it up, I think, with a broom or something, you hear these aliens in the craft saying, you know, they're talking back to Earth.
Oh, gosh.
So they've actually crashed on the Earth beings that have crashed on another planet. You know?
Yeah. Well, what about
Where the people are so much bigger.
so huge? There was Land of the Giants,
Yeah,
wasn't there, and all that stuff as well.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll leave you with that thought in the hope you can squeeze another call in.
Possibly so. Thank you ever so much, sir, for the call.
No problem, Lee, and good night, and
All right.
have a nice weekend.
Yeah, you too. Cheerio. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
Yeah, that's a question for you all. The scale of things in the universe versus us. So there are a few. There's a few sort of threads of thought within that, and there is, of course, the direct physical proportion sort of thought. Oh, look out! We have another call. Isn't that exciting? Oh, it stopped. There's the direct physical proportion thought, which is, yes, there might be a being 27 times our size or 27 times smaller than us in proportion to us. But also, there might be beings that are astronomical and are, gargantuan across the universe that could appear in different forms and could appear in different sizes. And then there's the layer of our perception and what image our brain allows us to see. All that stuff. Let's take this next call. Hello, you're on Erie's Vault Live. Welcome.
Hello, Mr. Eerie. It's Ian Parkin here again.
Good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Are you?
I'm jolly well, thank you, yes.
Yes, good. Right, well, this week I've got something we'll follow on from the other week. If you remember, I said I related an incident to the person on the stall.
Yes, and they said, what are you doing with our ships or something of that nature, wasn't it?
Yeah. Something like that sort. Yeah. But anyway, well, this is that particular incident.
Okay.
We'll call it a Derbyshire UAP. So we now go back to the 70s, and around 1972, 1973. And at that time, I knew some people who lived in Derbyshire who were musicians, and they had formed a folk band, and on this occasion I had accompanied them to a gig. And we were all in the van returning to Derbyshire, and had not long ago crossed the border from South Yorkshire. When suddenly, to our left, moving along the fields at the side of the road, appeared a yellow sphere of light, which appeared to be following the van. The driver slowed down so that we could watch it as it progressed, and it had now caught up and was about 12 feet away from the passenger side door. It continued in this manner for a short while longer, and then it gained height, moving closer to the van at about 15 feet above, and then disappeared. We were then surprised to see it appear on the driver's side, losing height and having now turned white to hover over a field a little way in front. And at the point of drawing level, the driver stopped the van. "Anyone want to get out and have a closer look?" someone shouted. This person got out and opened the back doors, and I joined him. We walked over toward the object, which continued to hover in place. As we got closer, we could see that it was circular in shape, around 6 feet in diameter and height, with a flange around the base. And at this point, the van driver shouted through his open window that he wanted to get moving. Reluctantly, we returned and got back into the van. Then, as the van moved off, the object began to gain height, and it rose to around 15 feet again, having once more turned yellow. Then it again appeared on the passenger side. Now, on said side, we had reached an area of hills, and the object headed for the hills, continuing to gain height, and then disappeared around the nearest one. And we then expected to see it again on the other side as we passed the hill, but it did not reappear. So it was an interesting experience.
It is interesting, particularly because around the same time, 73, I think, the Avis family abduction, you probably know that one, don't you?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the name.
Avis. It was John and Elaine Avis. I think they were pseudonyms.
Oh, right.
It happened in Averley, and the description of the light being on one side and then the other, and seemingly following the vehicle. That is word for word how that case began.
I see. Yeah. No, I don't know that. I don't know. I can't remember that one actually. No. I have to look it up.
Yeah. Have a good look at that one. It was Averley. It was, and
Averley.
Yes, just reminded me, and it's the same year as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes. Yeah, because it's not all that far apart, are they? Really?
Not if you're not if you're a spaceship, certainly.
No, certainly not. No.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah. So this
was. Go on.
No, I'm sorry. You go on.
Okay. I was just going to say that where we were probably on the way to Bamford, because one of the main guys lived at Bamford, and that's where we were heading at the time.
This sort of flange design, now that crops up often, sort of a rim, or perhaps some sort of a seal, or even a gangway potentially around the perimeter.
Yes, yeah.
What was your impression of its function, do you think? If indeed you had one.
Yeah, not at the time, I don't think, but certainly I can sort of say what I might think now is possibly maybe it's there to contain whatever the forces that's being used to direct it. To allow it to operate correctly in movements, to moving left, right, front, back, etc.
Oh, so it might have some sort of gyroscopic effect.
Yes,
oh, I see.
Yeah, guiding.
That's an interesting take. Yeah. Because it gets mentioned a lot. There's that feature, and Lazare, even Bob Lazare, doesn't call it a flange as much, but he refers to it as a sort of isolating ring.
Yes. So that would gel with that, really, wouldn't it?
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It would isolate the field, shall we call it, and it allows it to them to be able to manipulate it more efficiently.
I suppose if they are so. It's often referred to as a gravity field, but if it's a gravity-like force, then that means friction probably doesn't exist.
No, indeed. Because obviously, when you look at the way they do tend to move in this multiple sort of way, where they move through the sea and through the rocks and through
transmedium,
transmedium, yes, that's what I was looking for, and so it would be very difficult to do a lot of these things if you had a lot of friction. So I think definitely
it would certainly be difficult to pass through a mountain, wouldn't it?
Well, exactly, yeah.
A bit too much friction on that one.
Just a bit too much.
Yeah. But it would
rock
also
a
rock in a hard place. Yeah, it would also make steering virtually impossible, wouldn't it? Because what are you pushing against to change direction? I hadn't thought of that before.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, you need to have, I think, some sort of deflection
or reversing,
or way of deflecting, so that you could move it into a particular strength, if you like, so that you could push forward or pull backwards or whatever,
or indeed fall into a pocket of nothing, perhaps, but you put the pocket where you want to go.
Exactly. Yeah, you can push it for perhaps push it forward so that and then you could fall into your area.
All that from a flange. Who would have thought?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. But certainly, because obviously, if it is not controlled in that sort of way, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to attenuate and not do anything at all, I would think.
Yeah, it could. I wonder if. Now, here's a thought. I wonder if the movement whilst in this, let's call it a bubble state, okay?
Yes.
If the movement whilst in the bubble state also regulates the size of the bubble, perhaps if it's still, it does the opposite of attenuate and would just increase and increase because it's not being directed, let's say.
Yes. You end up with perhaps a wall of energy which you can't really do a deal with because there's nothing to control it.
Yeah, that'd be a disaster, wouldn't it?
It certainly would.
It certainly would.
Yeah, especially if it was on the road, say, on the road in the, like that one I saw, and all the houses get flattened because all the
they would, wouldn't
the energy's flying nowhere, flying out and uncontrolled.
Sinkholes, and we'd become a black hole, wouldn't we? Gosh, what a
likely. Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. It just made me think that flange is always, and sometimes it's mentioned with portholes rather, above it.
Portholes, yeah. Portholes above, yeah.
Which
that's right.
Which seem to be described as windows, but with the stresses involved with the propulsion, mere glass, surely not.
Well, no, I don't think they are actually portholes as such, not in the way we were thinking of having glass in, people staring out of them. No, I think because obviously people often say that there's different coloured lights behind them.
Yes.
So is this again a manifestation of the energy being used?
The power source. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. In its raw form, shall we say, before it's been modified and then put through to the flange or whatever. to remove the desired direction.
Directed. Gosh, we should design spacecraft, Ian. I think we should.
Yes, definitely. Yes,
we should try it out. Yeah. Although if my flange gets stuck,
could be a problem indeed.
If you don't want a stuck flange, do you? Yes.
You definitely don't. No.
You don't.
It's very painful.
It certainly could. Yes, indeed. Well, Ian, as always, thank you very much for the call. You've taken us to the end of the show.
Oh, well, it reminds me, I've got a little something about Jenny Randall I found out about. Apparently, she is presently having health issues and is dealing with those, and also having to finish 2 novels.
She'd be busy then.
Yes, I think so. Maybe at some point.
I shall respectfully try again after a respectful period, I think.
Yes.
That's good to know, though. Thank you for that. Yes.
Okay, no problem.
Smashing.
Okay, then, so I'll say yes. So I'll say good night and good night to the chat.
Yes.
And good night.
Good night. Thank you, Ian. Yep.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Bye-bye. Yes, the time has flown, ladies and gentlemen. It has flown by. And we are indeed at the end of the show, almost the end of the show for this week. Don't forget that the calls on this show are archived on the second channel, which I've just linked to in the chat for you. So if there's a these videos are a couple of hours long, sometimes 3 hours long, when I'm not tired out and old. So finding the video you want, or the case, the story that you want, is difficult. So I am now archiving them on Eerie's Vault Open Lines, which is actually the individual calls themselves. So much easier to find what you're looking for. And of course, a really good way to keep and preserve people's stories for as long as the internet allows us. I want to thank all my callers tonight. Thank you all so much. All you chatters, all you people who just don't call and don't put anything in the chat, but you're still there listening anyway. Yes, you with the blue dressing gown on. Yes, all of you. I want to thank you all ever so much for being here tonight. What else can I say? Keep an eye out for the next video. It's the Poltergeist video. It's about 2 hours long. It's taken forever. Please enjoy it when you see it. And keep your eyes on the skies for disclosure. Let's see what happens next, shall we not? So thank you, everybody. Look after yourselves and one another. And I will see you, or rather hear you, on the next one. Thank you so much. You're watching Eerie's Vault. Introducing the Eerie's Vault Patreon, where you can find mountains of research clippings and articles related to the cases discussed on the channel. Patrons-only case files that don't make it onto the YouTube channel are also shared for members. Exclusive follow-up videos, complementary to the main YouTube episodes, are also shared and include extra insight or additional cases not covered in the main episodes. You'll get extra videos giving my honest opinion about cases discussed on the channel. Do I really believe it all? Find out on Patreon. Enjoy interesting studies and presentations that I've discovered during my investigative journey into high strangeness. See exclusive on-location videos shot at the very locations discussed in our main episodes. See the exact places that these things happened and explore the area with me. Stay in the loop with Patrons group chat feature and carry on the discussion after the streams have ended. And the big one, patrons can access this massive Erie's Isles interactive map that details literally hundreds of cases of high strangeness in the UK. Not only those from case file episodes, but also those mentioned in the live streams, and others that I have found along the way. Browse this huge catalogue to find your area and see what weird things happen near you. The cases are organised into folders on the left-hand side, so you can drill down and choose specific cases here too, showing you the overview of what happened in that location and a link to the Erie's Vault episode that covers it. You can also use the Super Thanks button to support the channel. Hit the ellipsis menu at the bottom right of the video and choose Thanks. Select a donation value and enter your message. And you can use Super Chat on the live streams by clicking on the $ in the bottom of the chat and then select a value and add your message. Maybe you want me to discuss something in particular, or maybe you especially want your comment read out on air. Super Chat is the way to do it.